is Paul McElhenney from Ungovernable Films, and you're listening to Without Your Head.
Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neil.
And that would make me terrible, Troy.
Yes, it would. And joining us here right off the bat, he's known as Hollywood's bad guy. We have Jasper Cole on the line. How are you doing?
Hey, guys. How are you guys?
Pretty
Really good, thank you.
Yeah, it's good to hear from you. And, by the way, where did that nickname come from?
The Hollywood bad guy?
Yeah.
Well, it's something that just kind of happened, and I took it and ran with it. I always say it took me 25 years to be typecast in this business, so I was so grateful to be typecast that I just wanted to make it a brand. So, they always say actors have so much range. My range is like, do you want the hair in a ponytail, do you want a beard, or do you want a goatee? That's my range. Uh-huh. So, yeah.
I think that's probably a good attitude to have, though.
Yeah, it's not brain surgery. I love acting. I love what we do. But, these actors kill me sometimes that talk this bullshit about the method. And, TV and film in particular. I mean, theater is a whole other beast, and that's amazing. But TV and film, come on. We're cast mainly for how we look and what we bring on camera. And I have no illusions about that, and it's great, and the check's clear and all that, but I'm just too old now to deal with all the actory bullshit about getting into character and their method, and my method is what time are we finishing and how much am I getting paid?
Did you always have that?
Bitter.
Did you always have that attitude?
No, I was a very nice, polite boy from the South. But after 30 years in Hollywood, I'm a mean, bitter old man now. No, I'm kidding. No, I still love the business. I always said, the day I don't love what I'm doing, I really will stop doing it because there's no room for that on the set either. But I just think it's funny. I don't know if it's day of social media now or whatever, but it just seems like, actors in particular, they've just made this into this very, elusive, it's so hard to do. And I'm like, really? Okay, well, if you say so. I can give you a list of people that are not that great that work all the time, So I know brilliant actors that have never had a break. So it's not really about the talent in this town. It's about the branding. Mm-hmm.
Now, you mentioned that you have your own show. It's on, Wednesday nights?
Yeah, I have my show One-on-One with Jasper Cole every Wednesday, 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern time at Sunset Gower Studios, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, how did that all come about?
Well, it's interesting. I actually had another show for 4 years called On the Set with Jasper Cole. What happened was when I was promoting this movie, MacGruber, in 2010, I went on to a show, and the host, Tony Sweet, at that time said, I'm going to be starting my own station. You should do a show because, I don't know if you know, but I have a talent management company. I'm an actor. I'm also a producer. I'm basically Jamaican without the dreadlocks. But, I do all these different hats in the business. So he said, you should maybe do a show about all entertainment. And so he started his own company called Global Voice Broadcasting, and I did. So I did that show for 4 years, and then he left and opened a new company called UBN, Universal Broadcasting Network, which I'm also an investor in. And I wanted to do a show that was a little more intimate with just one person in 1 hour instead of 2 hours, so I could really have a conversation and expand it, not just entertainment, but politics and sports and all, hot topics, and not just all entertainment. So that's how that, and then we launched last July.
Mm-hmm. So how do you find that?
I love doing it. I mean, it's the reason I basically started it is I wanted to be able to show a different personality. I mean, my basic personality is a little more light and fun and caustic and comedic. I play all these creepy, homeless, drug addicts, whatever, derelicts, and I kind of wanted to let people see that there's another side to me besides killing people and eating them and shit.
That is a fun side, though.
oh my God, they're the best characters ever. I mean, I wouldn't change that for the world. It's just funny because it's so not. I mean, you probably find this too because you interview all these actors, especially in the horror genre. But most of the people I know, the bad guys, they're really the sweetest people ever. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah. Actually, when you mentioned kind of the one-on-one thing, I did a panel once with Danny Trejo, and it was just me and him, and a lot of similarities because he was talking about it for years. He just played like it was like henchman number one, or and it was but he's one of the nicest guys ever. I don't know if you've ever had interaction with Danny.
Well, it's so amazing. I'm Native American. I'm not Spanish, but I can't tell you. I'm 52. I think Danny, can't believe it because he looks amazing. I think Danny's in his 70s. Mm-hmm. But I have had so many times people said you're they call me the little Danny Trejo. Danny's tiny.
Yeah.
So
uh-huh.
I mean physically,
yeah.
So I thought, well, damn, if I'm the little Danny Trejo, I'm pretty much a little person. But I'm a big fan of his. I've never actually met him, but God, I'd love to work with him.
Yeah, it came up about his stature, I think, and why he was never in the Expendables movies, and he mentioned that because he doesn't do a lot of steroids like everybody in the movie.
Well, I mean, Stallone is not a very tall guy either. Mm-hmm. But no, it's a great point about Danny. His presence is huge.
Yeah.
So, and you know how they shoot us in movies and stuff. They can shoot us. I mean, I'm like 5'7" on a good day or whatever. But being smaller has helped my career and has probably hurt my career. A lot of times I get jobs because I'm shorter. Mm-hmm. And then I lose jobs because I'm not tall enough. So
yeah. What
can you do?
Would that be part of that reason? Would be like they don't want people to overshadow the main star too much, or why is it good to be shorter?
Yeah, I think so. Especially in action movies and stuff like that, they'd rather have you either the same. Although, where it will help me sometimes, I'll play sort of the sidekick roles where I might be like the sort of bumbling sidekick, or the goofy guy or whatever. That can work if you're smaller and the lead is bigger. But I think in general, it's all about not upstaging the lead, the star.
Mm-hmm. Because I also do a wrestling show, and that's a thing, especially in the old school professional wrestling, was they always wanted all the announcers and everything to be very small because it would make the wrestlers even look bigger.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's a psychological visual thing, I guess.
Yeah. So
the thing that always cracks me up, though, is you see a lot of the guys, especially guys that play monsters and things, and they'll wear like these giant 3-inch lifts on their shoes, and it's like, well, if you're 6'8" anyway, do you really need a 3-inch lift going?
Exactly.
Yeah. We won't name any names, but we see that at some conventions.
Oh, I'm sure you do. Yeah.
So, what inspired you to get into acting?
Well, it's interesting. I grew up with the youngest of four boys, and it was football and sports. And in the South, I'm from Georgia, and acting just wasn't in in our reality. And so, but I was secretly like a theater person. In high school, I wanted to do the theater thing, but it wasn't quote cool. So I gave into that peer pressure. But right after high school, after I tried college for a couple of years, I decided to move up to Atlanta, and I went to the Alliance Theater School, which is a full-on acting program. And I met an actress there, Becky Kennedy, and we got together and we wrote a play called Willow Springs Now. And it was about it's ironic that I'm a radio host because it was about these two idiot cable access TV hosts in South Georgia who had a show. They were Buck and Faye-Ann, and they hated each other's guts. But we did the play in Atlanta, and it got sort of a following. And then a producer in L.A. happened to see the show, and he said, if you ever come to L.A., I'd love to produce your show. Well, if you tell a 22-year-old, ever come to LA, I swear like 3 weeks later we had packed the car and moved to LA.
Nothing wrong.
And we showed up at his name was Ivan Spiegel. We showed up at his little theater, and I think he almost like shit himself because he's probably thinking, well, I wasn't really serious, guys, but he honored his commitment, and he put our show on, and we were sort of a late night comedy at a little theater in LA, and we just got a cult following, and celebrities started coming, and George Carlin and these different people, and
wow.
Yeah, it was, I thought at 23, oh, this is how it happens. This is what happens. And I got an agent, and it was just going to be, that's it. I'm a star now. And so I stayed, and then reality hit. Thankfully, I'm glad it hit because it made me, get a temp job and, start the audition process and all that stuff. But that's what brought me out to LA. And so I didn't really start the acting thing till I was like 20, 21.
Mm-hmm. But what are the differences between like stage acting on television, and acting in a movie?
Well, they always say, stage is really an actor's medium, and then film and TV are really a director's. Well, film is definitely a director's. TV is really a producer's medium. I think the biggest thing is for an actor, when you do a play, it's your performance from beginning to end, So when you step on stage, you're on for the whole 2 hours. I mean, you may come off and go back on, but you kind of control the process. TV and film, you shoot little snippets and you shoot a scene here and it's out of context and you really have no idea what the fuck's going on. And basically, you don't know really until you see it put together how it's going to look. And honestly, I used to think, because I come from the theater, so I used to think I didn't understand how someone could do TV and film and never have done theater. But actually, they're three separate beasts. Well, TV and film are really the same, but they're two separate beasts. And there's a whole technique to TV and film that you have to sort of learn. And basically, what I tell young actors is, TV and film is less is more. And sometimes when I say less, I mean like barely breathing less, because the camera picks up every single nuance that if you raise an eyebrow on camera, it looks huge. So, I had to really learn to just keep it simple, keep it real, don't overdo. But sometimes, I'll be honest, when you're doing TV and film, you kind of feel like you're really not barely breathing. It's like I was doing a show recently, a TV show, and the director kept saying, "That's great, Jasper. Well, let's take it down a little and then a little." And finally I said, "Do you want a pulse? Or am I breathing? What do you want?" So that's why I always say, just keep it simple. Stage is where you can strut your stuff and stretch and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You got to really kind of rein it in for an act. Oh, okay.
Do you have a personal preference between them?
Well, I think for film-wise, I think theater is more fulfilling. Ultimately, you get a much bigger high from it at the end of 2 hours. But on the flip side, I mean, there's nothing like those moments in between action and cut. I mean, there's something that happens, and especially when scenes are working really well and it's clicking, and it's hard to explain, but when it's really, there is something that happens on a set when everyone's working well and it's all happening. The best thing about TV and film is I don't think the other people get as much attention as they should, besides the actors, because look, guys, seriously, I mean, we are very replaceable actors, but it's hard to find great first, second ADs, cinematographers, down to the best boy in the grips. And I mean, I sometimes sit on sets and I think I am the fucking laziest ass person in the world, because I'm sitting here doing nothing. And, Jasper, can we get you more water? And these guys are busting their ass. They are working like dogs, and they all love what they're doing, but I get embarrassed sometimes on set because I just feel like, what the fuck am I doing? But I mean, it is a collaboration, but I just don't think the other crew members get the attention that they should get.
Mm-hmm. Now you mentioned that you're also a manager. Now, do you have you done any other like directing or producing? Or?
Well, I have produced. I actually what I started when I got after Willow Springs, which I produced. I started producing theater in L.A. My production company, Wayman Productions, and I produced probably 10 plays around L.A. And then I have produced one movie in 1999 called Get Your Stuff, and I briefly worked at Paramount in 1997-98. I actually associate produced a pilot called Texarkana rather, that starred Judith Ivey and Sam Elliott and Terry Polo, before Terry Polo really blew up in Meet the Fockers and all that. And I kind of, that gave me a taste of working at the studio and the network. But that experience was great for me as an actor, because I got to sit in on all these castings, during the pilot season, and I'm talking like big stars would come in, they would have to audition. I remember at the time, like Tom Wopat, who, had been on Dukes of Hazzard for years for CBS, or Gene Smart. And, these people would come in and, they would be nervous and they didn't do great. And, it was really good for me. The best thing I ever did as an actor is get on the other side of the camera and get into the audition room and just watch and see how it's not personal. And, 4 people can come in and give the most brilliant, kick-ass auditions, but then the 5th person comes in, they're not really that great at the read, but there's just something they have that is right for the character, So I always tell actors, all we can do is just do our best in the room and leave it and go home, because it didn't mean that we weren't good as to why we didn't get the part. It's just so many other factors. But that was a really eye-opening experience, and I got to work with Sam Elliott, who was brilliant, and unfortunately I've never worked with him since. But he was the one day I remember on the set. They had been trying to get him to go to television for years, and he never would do it. And I remember he pulled me aside and he goes, Jasper, this is all bullshit. he said, don't ever take yourself too seriously. And he pointed to like all the suits and the executives, and he said, and for sure as hell don't take them too seriously, because they won't be here tomorrow. And the worst thing about that whole thing is they shot the pilot and guaranteed him that they were going to, pick the show up, and then they didn't pick it up. And I thought, fuck. And then he was probably, stuck with a 5-year contract. I mean, not stuck, he got paid, but yeah. So it's been those kind of experiences along the way where I've worked with certain people that have given me those little gems of advice, and I've kind of stuck to that.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you have a favorite genre to work in?
Well, ironically, I don't get to do. I do comedy, but I'm never, even in a comedy, I'm the bad guy. Right. But my fantasy life world career would be a sitcom. If I could have, a 3-camera, 4-camera sitcom now, that would be. I think it's because I'm getting older. I just want to I really just want to pull up to the studio, park my car, have a parking spot, and work banker's hours and not be on location for 16, 18 hours. But I'm not complaining, never ungrateful, but there just aren't a lot of, creepy, severe looking sitcom dads.
There should be. I would probably watch more of them if there was.
I don't know if you watch Two Broke Girls, but Garrett Morris, from Saturday Night Live, to me, that job is ideal. I just want the job where I want to be the homeless guy that kind of lays out in front of the building and throws out a line every now and then, or has, 1 or 2 scenes a show and calls it a day, but you're still a series regular, you're still getting your check, and yet you don't really have to worry about carrying the show. But that would be ideal. And then go do, a play and a movie on my hiatus. That would be a dream job.
What kind of movies or TV do you like to watch?
Well, it's interesting because I play these weird guys.
Mm-hmm.
I'm much more drawn to really character-driven, stuff. Like this is the dichotomy about me. I'm one of the few guys that admits that, and don't hang up. I told you could hang up earlier. You might actually hang up on this one. That I watch reality television. And click. You still there? Okay. I'm a big reality junkie, and I think what I've decided, the reason I like reality TV, although we all know it's bullshit and it's not reality, it's the one genre I've never worked in, and so it's a genre I don't know, and so I'm watching something that I don't know, and I don't.
Yes, you don't know how the magic's done on that one.
Yeah, you can watch it as a fan, as opposed to.
Yeah, and that's not to say, like, I love Ray Donovan. Like, for instance, that's one of my favorite, shows. But in general, I have a hard time, and it's not real. It's really not being jaded or anything. But here's what happens to me, guys. I'll watch like The Revenant. Here's what I'm thinking the whole time. God damn. How long were they out in the wilderness? Like, how cold was? This is kind of shit I think about. Like, how, look, I'm basically a pussy when it comes to that stuff. I'm like, how hard was that shoot? That's what happens. I'll watch a TV show and I'm thinking, damn, that must have been a hellacious shooting day.
No, that's actually a kind of controversial thing is The Revenant, because some people say it's like stunt acting, and then I love the movie, but as an actor, what are your thoughts on a movie like that is made like that?
Well, visually it's spectacular, and I get it. I get why people were. It's not. And I apologize for not finishing your question. Basically, I'm not really drawn to a lot of. I'm not a sci-fi person at all. I'm not into a lot of action movies. I'm not into big studio, unrealistic kind of stuff. But as a viewer, but I like very smart horror films. You know what I mean? Like now look, I love to be in all of them. I love to be in the monster movies and the slashers, but as a viewer, I like the horror films that could actually happen, that are like When a Stranger Calls. That's always been one of my, the original with Carol Kane. I don't know if you guys are young, probably. I don't know if you remember, and they probably have remade it 100 times, but, where someone's in the house and they're calling, but you don't know they're in there. I'm more freaked out by stuff that can really happen rather than aliens or monsters.
Mm-hmm. Well, besides that one, what are some of your favorite horror movies?
My favorite. Well, and this is the thing. I grew up. I was addicted to horror films, so I saw starting with all the Halloween movies, and then the Friday the 13th. That was a given. I remember. I think it was Terror Train, and with Jamie Lee. Anything because I don't know if you remember Jamie Lee. Was that what it's called, Terror Train or something? I just know Jamie Lee did a couple of other things after her initial Halloween, but When a Stranger Calls, Nightmare, the original Nightmare. I think it got kind of silly after that. Mm-hmm. I love zombie stuff, Rob Zombie's movies. I'm dying to work with him. I actually auditioned for him last year and didn't get it, but he's smart. I like he's clever in his direct. It's twisted as shit, which I love, but and he has humor. I like horror films that have tongue-in-cheek humor in them.
Mm-hmm. Which one did you try it? Was it a 31?
Yeah, it was untitled at the time. That's what happens. Like when I went in for the Purge Anarchy, I remember at the time, they don't want you to know what you're going in for, so they'll call it like Tangerine or something. I don't remember, but they don't tell you, and they won't tell you who the director is most of the time. You'll find out after the fact. But yeah, I didn't, because my I don't know if you know David Uri. He actually is in he's in the new 31 movie that's coming out, but we ran into each other recently. And he was talking about working with Rob, and he went to Sundance to see the movie. But yeah, because he said the same thing when they finally called to tell him he was cast. He had to go, wait, what? Which one was that? You know.
Mm-hmm.
So at the time it was Untitled. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah. I think it was last April. I was a video interview with Malcolm McDowell, and I asked him about 31, what he could tell me about it, and he just said nothing.
He said nothing.
Yeah. He said, I will not be that guy. I was like, all right.
They're pretty tight-lipped, yeah.
Yeah. But how did you get involved with Purge Anarchy?
Well, again, that was just an audition. I mean, I just went in. I didn't know anything. I didn't know what the movie, what it was. And it was a homeless guy. And I'm actually basically chopped to death and barely in the movie. That's another thing that happens. But in shooting it, I had some great scenes, and it was a really fun character because he really was fighting off people or whatever. And that's what I tell actors also. You can work forever on it. You can work 5 nights on a film, and then you go see it, and you're barely in the movie. But the good thing is it's a director's gift that as long as you're still in the movie, and as long as you have your credit, that dictates your residuals and all that going forward. So we've all been sort of cut out of stuff, but shooting that was great. Working with the director and then I just found out they've already wrapped the next one. I know Raymond Berry's in that one, and Frank is back in the lead, but it looks like that's going to be another ongoing franchise as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the new one's what is it called? It's something about election year. Maybe that's what it's called, election year, something like that.
Yeah, I think Raymond Berry plays a senator in it. Mm-hmm. Something happens with the senator, but yeah, I thought it's interesting because I was talking to the director that night, and he was saying how I said, "Wow, you must be really. This is great," because the first one the budget was nothing. I can't remember, and I said, now you have all this money. He said, yeah, but it's interesting. He goes, I have a lot more money, but I have the exact amount of time to do it. So he said, even though I have more money, they didn't give me more time. So It's almost like it was almost harder because he had money and he had better special effects, but he didn't have more time to do it. Mm-hmm. So, and as far as directing, no, I can never direct. It's the hardest job in the world. I take my hats off to anyone that wants to direct, because in film, it is a 24-hour a day. I mean, you're basically working for a whole year plus between pre-production and then shooting, and then the most work comes in post-production, as you know.
Mm-hmm. Now, what's been you mentioned about, you did a lot of scenes, but you're just basically cut up in the movie. What's been the most frustrating film that your scene's been either cut out or cut down?
Well, early on in my career, I was in a movie called Alien Nation for Fox, and it was, for me, it was a big deal because it was like, wow, this is going to be, and I was like 20. It was shortly after I moved here. I don't remember my age, but maybe 25, 26. And at that time, I didn't know much about being cut out. And back in the day, you would be cut out of things and not know it till you saw it. Now, when you're cut out of something, you have to get a letter from SAG. I mean, that's when you're completely cut out. The Purge, I didn't get a letter because I was still technically in the movie. But yeah, for Alien Nation, that's when you tell the family and the friends, I'm in this movie, and pop the popcorn and get the beer going, and let's all celebrate. And then you go see it and you're like, and scene.
Oh no.
There's nothing there at all, So that was kind of a devastating time, for a 25, 26-year-old.
Yeah.
But you just learn it's part of the business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, tell us some of you've got a bunch of horror movies coming out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my next thing coming out is not a horror film, but it's a TV movie for TV One called Visions, It's more of a paranormal thriller. Again, I'm a homeless guy, but I'm a homeless guy with sort of psychic abilities. It's with Tatiana Ali, and I kind of am sort of a muse with her, and we are on the same psychological level. And I just shot that in December, but that's gonna come out, I think, pretty soon, like in April. And then I have two really great films I'm excited about. One is called Captured. That is a horror film, a smart one, and it's Brittany Caron and Kristen Proust from Twilight. It's about a rock band that goes back to the lead singer's home where she grew up to shoot a music video. And Shelley, my character, has been the groundskeeper since she was a baby. And they get back to this kind of rundown place that nobody lives in anymore. And my character's still there, and I know all the secrets and what really went on. And so there's a crew filming, so it's sort of like a documentary within a movie, and all kinds of shit happens in that one. And then the other one is called Model Home, and that's with Monique Gabrielle Kernan and with Emmy winner Kathy Baker. And that's where this whole idea of staging a home for resale, they take it to the next level. And instead of just staging it, they actually hire a single mother and her son to live in the house because the realtor thinks, well, it looks better if you're living in it. But they don't realize that the mother's schizophrenic, bipolar, and all of her sort of fucked up delusions start coming to life. And I play Walker, this kind of desert rat who initially is just stealing gasoline out of her car in the garage, and then she's in one of her bipolar characters, and she basically attacks me, and I go from being the bad guy. This is the first time I've ever been the victim, and I'm sort of held hostage for the second half of the movie. And wow, I mean, it's pretty intense. And what I had to go through, she takes twigs, wire, and wood, the kind of stuff you make artificial flowers with, and she wires me and ties me up like a doll, almost like a puppet. And
Wow.
For the second half of the movie, I'm sort of in this frozen state, and I have to sort of fight and defend myself and talk. And yeah, it was long hours in the chair of getting this stuff. The guy was brilliant, George, that did the special effects, but that one I'm really proud of too, because it's a smart script and pretty creepy, and the cast was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. That sounds very interesting. I'd like to see that. What's been the hardest thing to film for you with either makeup, special effects, or action?
The hardest, let's see. Well, I did this movie, Hansel and Gretel, with Dee Wallace,
Mm-hmm.
with Anthony Ferrante, who went on to direct Sharknado. Go Anthony! In that movie, I was one half of a twin, and one half of my face was burned off, and it was my left side and my brother's right side. The idea would be if you put us together, we can make one face. But that was a daily thing at prosthetics and putting that on, and then the contact lens in the eye, and there's a lot of that stuff that you don't think about when you're just want to be an actor. You forget about, I may have to wear prosthetics and a mask and fake teeth, and then try to be real and not too big, and even when you're killing someone on film, you can't be too big. You have to keep it. They always say, I remember one director said, "No, Jasper, no, do it like you really would kill someone." I was like, okay, let me think about that. Yeah.
Well, okay, I've got plenty of experience in that. So.
Yeah, but keep it real and keep it natural.
Now, you mentioned being, portraying a homeless guy several times. Now, have you ever thought of changing your facial hair, your look, or do you think that's hey, if you're getting these roles, this is what I should go with?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Actually, it really wasn't until I did that I really got the work. I mean, I've always been grateful to work, but really and truly, I looked a lot younger when I was even younger. So I'd play sort of the boring college kid, and then it was sort of the office worker. There was nothing that sort of set me apart. And then I turned 40 12 years ago, and I don't know, the face kind of changed, and then I thought, well, you know what? I need to do something to get a look going. So I just sort of took a chance and kind of reinvented myself and had to sort of reintroduce myself to a lot of the casting people. I got cast on a show called Prom Queen that Michael Eisner did with a bunch of high school kids, but I played sort of the evil stepfather. And even then I hadn't let the hair grow long yet, but that kind of started me on this path of like, okay, wow, actually maybe this is what I should do to set myself apart. And then it just evolved, and the hair got longer and the beard, and but I think ultimately it was the smart thing to do, but because it kind of gave me a distinct look.
Mm-hmm. I just turned 40 last week, so I don't know.
Oh, happy birthday.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're a baby. Wait till you hit 50, then you'll want to kill yourself. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I think that's next.
They say 50 is the new 40. I'm like, no, it's really 50. So,
Well, yeah, well, everyone's
but I
telling
told
me
Neil turning 40 is the new 30. He believed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's what everyone was telling me. But...
Well, I have to say, though, I'll be honest with you, 40 to 50 was my best 10 years, and I need to quit saying that because it makes it sound like it's downhill since then. But, career-wise, it really was, and health-wise, it really was. I've got so many injuries from over the years of movies and working out. Like, I'm actually having back surgery, and in May, I'm going to be down for a month. And, I mean, that was an example. I got injured. It wasn't their fault, but I injured my leg on Hansel and Gretel, which I already had a back problem, but that was an example where in one of the takes I felt my hamstring pop, and it was that way for the rest of the shoot. I can actually watch the scene, and I know exactly. You could see me start limping in the scene, but and then that was like 3 years ago, so it just has gotten worse since then. So finally, now at 52, I'm having a disc replacement. That'll make you feel young. But when you play these action guys, and it's also you work out for years thinking that you're being healthy, and then you find out all the weightlifting has actually, destroyed your bones and your disc, and so be careful out there when you work out. Make sure you do it right.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you do a lot of your own stunts?
Well, that's an example too. A lot of times, because, I look like I can do stunts, it's hilarious. Because I really, you can tell guys I can't, right? So I shoot all these guns and shit, and honestly, even though I grew up on a farm, I really didn't care about shooting a gun. But it's just funny. You'll be in the moment, and the director will say, okay, Jasper, so you don't mind, so start at the top of that hill, now roll down, and then jump on this, and you don't want to be that douchey bag actor that's like, no, I can't do this. So many times over the years, I would do shit. Now I'm to the point where I have to stop and go, well, you know what? I can't really do that. But
yeah, that's self-preservation. That's probably a good thing.
Yeah, I remember on Hansel and Gretel one day, like all of a sudden one morning, the director came in and he said, you and Dee are going to be shooting, you're going to be doing archery today. But Jasper, you've shot bow and arrows, right? And I looked at Dee like, why would I shoot a bow and arrow? I've never touched a bow and arrow. And she and I were cracking up like, oh my God. So I get out there just like an idiot. I told the crew, I said, I can't do this, guys. So, I'd pull the thing back and it would just be like a limp penis. It would just fall down. And then finally, if you watch the movie, I get one good, lucky, arrow off that went right straight as it's supposed to. And then damn Dee Wallace gets out there. She's never touched one. And she's just ripping them off one at a time. Bam, bam, bam. So the bad guy can't do the bow and arrow, but Dee Wallace does.
That's awesome.
Just your luck you get there with a natural archer, you know.
Totally. But yeah, they just assumed. I don't know why he thought, well, Jasper, you're from the South and you hunt and shit like that. I'm like, no, not really, but okay, you think I do. So a lot of it, they call it fake it till you make it. I have faked it many, many times on a set, and you just have to do it. And, but I'm learning now to say, yeah, I don't think I can do that.
Mm-hmm. What was Dee Wallace like?
Oh, Dee was great. Dee was amazing. Dee was actually friends with Anthony, the director, which was great. And she has a great work ethic, and she would come in and really be ready to go, and doesn't like a lot of wasting time and bullshitting around. And it's funny because even though Dee was playing our mother, we had to keep reminding people she's playing a character that's over 100 years old, because I'm 52. I don't think, technically I don't think Dee could be my mother, but that was what she was. She had to keep making people understand, no, I'm 100. I'm not really old enough to be Jasper's mother. But no, she's a really great lady. And she's really, I don't know if you know, her whole other life is she's a minister. She's a spiritual leader. She has a healing radio show. Like, she has this whole other life that's about ministry and spirituality and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember, I think it was last year, she had like a crowdfunding thing for some kind of, I don't know if it was a charity or something. I remember it was going around, in the horror world, because everyone was sharing. So that was interesting.
Oh, that reminds me. The Hills Have Eyes is one of my favorites. Suze Lanier is one of my dear friends. In fact, she and I started a management company together. And when I think of Dee, I always think of the original Hills Have Eyes. That's one of my favorites also.
Mm-hmm. And you worked with Michael Berryman.
Yeah, well, he's fantastic also.
Yeah.
Talk about someone that has his own look and has carved out his niche all these years, And Michael's another one that just is the soft-spoken, just nicest guy, just nothing like the characters he played. But I find that with my buddy Bill Oberst Jr., Dave Vesio, I could think of a lot of people that Bill Moseley, a lot of the guys that are in the horror genre, they're just the nicest guys off camera.
Mm-hmm.
And then you find a lot of the guys that play nice guys all the time are the real douchebags.
Are you going to give us any names?
We
don't want to get you in trouble or anything.
I really shouldn't, but my publicist is telling me, Jasper, you need to put a cap on it sometimes. But
yeah, we did have one guest who told us it was a very entertaining story about working with Segal. That was funny.
Oh, Steven Seagal?
Yeah. I'm
sure.
A big fan.
I haven't worked with him, but here's my thing. Everyone has stories about themselves, and here's what I try to do. Like, if I know I'm going to work with someone, I go, okay, look, I'm going to wait and see how they act to me. Mm-hmm. But you go in prepared. You go in, so if they do act like idiots, you're not shocked, and then when they don't, you're sort of pleasantly surprised. And that way you don't really, you're not thrown off either way. You go in expecting it's probably not going to be easy. And then when it is, you go, oh, okay, wow. Well, I had no problem with he or she. Mm-hmm. I have to be honest, because I've been lucky. I honestly, probably more in theater I've had problems with people, but in TV and film in general, I can't really. But now, for 20 years, my neighbor was Faye Dunaway. That's a whole other story. We both sold our places 2 years ago at the same time. But, yeah, in the South, we say, bless her heart. She was not a walk in the park. And so I think in that situation, when you hear those stories about someone like her, it's true.
Not the ideal neighbor. Huh?
And it's too bad because she's a gifted actress. Mm-hmm. But you know what? At the end of the day, there are a lot of gifted people, but do you want to spend 12 hours on a set with them? I take someone that's just really good, but it's pleasant to be around, because at the end of the day, who has time for that, you know?
Now,
yeah.
Now, if people are going to check out One-on-One, if they haven't already, what would be some of the episodes you would recommend they watch first?
Well, I think we've had we've had great ones. We've had everything from, music, like we've had, like comedians like Kim Coles and her husband Reggie. We've had Donzale Abernathy, the civil rights leader. We've had, like yesterday, my show, I had the amazing Cheryl Lee Ralph, from TV and film and Broadway. Actually, I have to say, my show has finally got its first syndication. Starting next Friday night, we're now syndicated on WROM, Detroit's #1 radio station and record company, and it's under the Universal Music Group. So I want to give a shout out to Ashley and Tom at WROM, and the Cheryl Lee Ralph show will be our first premiere show at WROM, and there's listened to all over the world, actually, and they're a close competitor now with Sirius XM Radio. So our goal was always to get my show syndicated and get it to other places. So I have to thank Dominic Friesen, my producer, my publicist, for making this happen, and hopefully it's just the beginning of many other outlets to come.
Yeah, that's very cool. Well, Dominic actually set this interview up. It was very cool.
Yeah, we've been together over 10 years, and I have clients that are also with him, and I'm very loyal. I've had the same agent since 1993, and I was with the same manager for 25 years as well. It's hard to find people in this business that you really like and you trust, and I think a lot of problems that young actors make in general, they always think there's something better coming, there's something greener on the other side, and they don't establish those loyalty situations. So, yeah, I've been lucky to have these great people around me.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned, young actors a few times. Is that something, you think a lot about, giving advice to people trying to get into acting, or people in acting that
yeah, I think, and not bragging, but I think the reason I'm a good manager is because I'm still actually acting. A lot of agents and managers, they either weren't actors, or if they were, it was a long time ago. So when I'm talking to a client about a situation, an audition, I may have just been in that same office, last week, or like today I had a client, she called, she was real excited about her audition for a pilot, and, she was telling me about what went on in the room, and, I knew exactly what she was talking about because I'm still doing it. Like it wasn't something I used to do, or, and so I think it makes me a good manager in that sense. And I also not ready to get rid of someone just because they're not booking, every job. The key in this business is to have the same producers and casting people call you back over and over. That's what means you're doing a good job. It's not that you have to book every job, because trust me, if you're stinking up the room, they're not ever bringing you back again, because their reputation's on the line. Casting people want to please the producers, and they're only going to bring in people that they know are going to make them look good. So I always tell actors, don't dislike casting people. They're your allies, because you're there to make them look good. So I find that that's my way of giving back, is to manage, and I actually love doing it, and I can do it from anywhere in the world. It's a phone and a laptop, and I remember shooting MacGruber in Albuquerque, and we were in the middle of a take, and my cell phone, I have to always keep the phone in my pocket, and it vibrated, and they said cut, and I went off to the side, and I looked, and a client had an audition, so I'm like calling, going, okay, hey, it's Jasper, I'm on the set, but here's the deal, and I'm giving the actor the information, and then they're like, okay, Jasper, we're ready. And then I went back to the thing. But you know what it does? It gives me balance, and it keeps me from obsessing on my own acting auditions or not getting them, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like almost like they're your kids if they get like a good job, good role?
Wait, say that again. I'm sorry, it cut out.
Like, if someone you manage, lands like a good role or something, what's that make you feel like?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. I am so happy for them because, like, again, I know that feeling as an actor of what it's like when you do book something. So I totally get it, and I get 10% of what they make. So I always laugh. I always go, well, if I'm not working, I'm tempting out other people to work. So, but yeah, and again, I bought the company in 2004, so 12 years now, and I've got pretty much, I only have 10 clients, and I'd say 8 of them I've had from the beginning. Yeah, I've had some people come and go, but I've got at least 8 that I've had from day one.
That's very cool. Any names?
Yeah,
any names we should keep an eye out for?
Well, I have Denise Boutet, who's this amazing, beautiful African-American actress. She was on Meet the Browns for 200 episodes, Tyler Perry's sitcom on TBS, and she's done many, many movies, whatever. I also have Park Overall, an hilarious Southern actress. She starred on Empty Nest and Reba, many, many movies. I have a couple of soap opera, Jennifer Bassey, Emmy-winning soap opera actress. Norma Michaels, she's 91 years old, still works. She's on Modern Family and many other shows, and she worked with Betty White on Boston Legal. And I have these amazing veterans. They're all pretty much veterans. I don't tend to work with a lot of younger. I mean, Denise and I have been together since she started, but even she didn't start until she was already had a career in advertising and that kind of thing,
Mm-hmm. So
I tend to like to work with veterans.
Mm-hmm. How can people find Jasper online?
Well, I have a website, jaspercole.com, and then on Facebook I have a page, Jasper Cole, and then you can also go to Jasper Cole Says, SAYS, on Twitter. And then the radio show, One-on-One with Jasper Cole, has a Facebook page, and a Twitter is One-on-One J Cole. And yeah, so I pretty, Dominic makes sure I'm pretty up to date on the whole social media thing.
Mm-hmm.
I answer everyone's, it's me, it's not, someone else doing it. And I see every message that comes in, and on my website, you can send, autograph request or photo request. I sign every picture. I do it all. I make sure it's me and that no one else is doing it for me. And I return every letter. So any fans out there know that if you hear from me, it's not somebody else.
Yeah, that's very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for coming on tonight. It's been a lot of fun.
Well, guys, thank you so much, and congrats on your show. Much continued success. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. This
Thanks.
their 10th year.
And stay warm and be careful in the snow.
All right, thank you very much.
I hope you feel better, too. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it. I feel better just talking to you guys now, so thank you for that.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you again sometime.
Take care, buddy. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye.
Bye-bye.
This is PJ Souls, and you are totally listening to Without Your Head, Horror Radio.